Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 could drop at any moment now. And for years, people have been asking for BO1 and BO2 to come back, and now they actually are coming back. And somehow, there is still stuff that nobody's actually brave enough to say out loud. Now look, I'm not here to tell you that these ports are perfect, because they might not be. But there are some real things worth being honest about before they land, especially since they could drop at any moment. So in this video, I want to go through 3 things that could make or break these ports, because I genuinely believe that saying this now matters more than people realize. And by the end of this video, hopefully you'll see why too. So here's what caught my attention initially. There's a sale running on Steam right now for Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 until the 9th of July. So if the old versions of these games are still on sale whilst the ports drop, Activision is basically competing with themselves. So I think ending that sale first clears the way. And so in theory, the moment that the sale ends, the ports could just appear. There could be no countdown, no trailer, just straight up available. So if I was you, I'd keep an eye on your store page, because based on that date, this could genuinely land any day up to the 9th. Now, the first thing that no one is saying is that new players are actually going to show up for this, because curiosity alone is going to pull people in who have never touched Black Ops 2 for the first time, but I don't think that they will stick, and there's a reason why. So for anyone who's grown up on the modern Call of Duty with Omni movement, fast TTK, all of that stuff, BO2 is going to feel like a completely different game. There's no slide spam, there's no tactical sprint, there's no bunny hopping, and if you've spent the last few years on Black Ops 6 or Black Ops 7, your muscle memory is built around that movement system, and it doesn't exist here in Black Ops 2. So these people are going to relearn how to play a shooter from scratch. And it's not just the movement either. Think about the actual menus, the progression. There's no battle pass, there's no daily challenges to grind, there's no weekly resets pulling you back in. For a player who's only ever known COD as a live service game with constant things to unlock, BO2 is just going to feel quiet and almost bare, even though that's genuinely closer to what multiplayer used to be before all of that got bolted on. So here's what I think happens. A new wave of players buy into the game because of the algorithm's been pushing it down their throats for the past few weeks. They get stomped by players who've been playing this game for thousands of hours. Within a week or two, a big chunk of those players quietly stop playing. Not because the game's bad, but because it's not going to feel like Call of Duty to them. Now, I grew up on Black Ops 2, none of this new gen stuff, so this feels completely like home to me, but to them, it's a different game wearing a familiar name. And honestly, that's completely fine, because the players who actually stick around are the ones who wanted this in the first place, and they are going to have the best experience that they've been hoping for all of this time, and I am all for it. Now, my second point applies to us, the OGs too, not just the new players. So I think the hype is going to crash the second people start sitting down and actually playing it, because the nostalgia is going to survive right up until you're back in an actual gunfight. So I went back and I've played some BO2 recently on my Xbox just to check what it feels like. And honestly, some of it kind of caught me off guard. The movement's stiffer than I remember. The TTK is quite different to what my brain is used to now. And the maps, well, the ones that felt massive as a kid felt pretty small and tight compared to what we used to today. Now, I mean, none of that's bad. Still had a great time. It's just not exactly what my memory was telling me. There's little things too, like the sound design feels a little bit dated. The kill feed is tiny compared to what we have now. Even the pick 10 system is another one of those things. Now, none of it's a deal breaker, but it all adds up to this general feeling of, oh right, this is actually an old game. Not just an old game in a nostalgic way, but also in a mechanical way. Now, don't get me wrong, I love BO2. Even though it's a little bit dated, it is still the best game of all time, and I will love it more than any other COD that will ever be released ever. So you can kind of see where I'm coming from. Now, let's be real. A lot of people that are hyping this up haven't actually gone back and played it recently. They're just remembering the 2012, not how it plays in 2026. And the memory kind of smooths over the annoying bits. To be fair, some people generally prefer the older mechanics, like myself, and it will land exactly right for those people. But for the big chunk of people that are expecting it to feel exactly like their memory, I think the first weekend's going to be a bit of a reality check for them. And that's completely fine too, because once you get through it, they'll end up loving it anyway. Now, I'm sure we can all agree that this is still the best COD to ever exist. And I don't care if it feels dated, it still feels like home. Now, on to my third point, and out of everything in this video, this is the one I most want to be wrong about. So the new servers aren't going to stop hackers the way that everyone's hoping for, and I think that it's going to happen relatively quick. I mean, like within a few days, there's going to be hackers already on this game. Now, on the original version of these games, theater mode specifically had been pointed as to one of the main ways hackers got in. And it wasn't just a weak server, it wasn't a specific feature that opened the door. So the real question isn't just, are the servers new? It's whether the same doors are still open. These new servers are genuinely a good sign, don't get me wrong, but the new servers and closing off an actual exploit are two completely different things. And I haven't seen anything confirming that this specific hole has been patched. And I want to be specific about why this worries me rather than just saying trust me. So anti-cheat isn't something that just happens automatically. It is still a separate piece of software that has been actively built, maintained, and updated as cheats develop. So a brand new server can still run great until a hacker finds a way to exploit it. And right now, the only thing that Treyarch have actually confirmed is that there are new servers, but there is nothing about this specific vulnerability itself. Now, we've been here before more than once. All of the old CODs on PC have been a mess for absolute years. And Xbox's backwards compatibility versions of these exact games are still dealing with hacked lobbies right now today. So this is something that I'm genuinely shocked if it does stay this way. And also, I would not expect it to be clean for more than a week. But genuinely, I really hope that I'm wrong on this point. Now, honestly, it's not going to stop me from playing, but I feel like it will stop a lot of people. So I just hope that they have a plan for these exploits. Now, I got some bonus points for you. So a quick one is that launch week on basically any online game is the worst version of that game's server's experience. Full stop. We'll have queue times, matchmaking hiccups, connection drops. That's not unique to COD. That is just what happens with every single copy and every single release of a new game. And it's usually within the first 48 hours. So expect some rough patches in that very first weekend, regardless of anything else in this video, purely from the sheer volume of players. So if you jump in one day and it's a bit rocky, that's not automatically a sign that the whole thing's cooked, okay? That's honestly just normal launch chaos that most big releases go through and mostly settle down within a week or two. I just don't want anyone panicking in the first few hours and writing the whole thing off before it's had a real chance to breathe. Now, my second bonus, another quick one before I move on, and I think this actually is the most useful part of this video. So let's actually break down what would have to be true for me to be wrong on each of these points. So for new players to actually stick, I think SBMM needs to be completely gone, or at least dialed right back, because if lobbies are still tightly skill matched, new players are going to get thrown straight into the games against people who have been playing for decades, and that just speeds up the moment that they quit instead of fixing it. Now, if they do this, then I cannot wait for some Christmas noobs. Now, for the nostalgia not to completely crash, honestly, that kind of just depends on the person more than anything Treyarch can do. Now, this might be a hot take, but one thing they could do is remove the idea of any FOV slider or anything like that. But look, if you've never vibed with modern movement anyway, if you've been quietly wishing for COD to go back to the old days, this might genuinely feel like a breath of fresh air rather than a letdown. And for a lot of you watching, I actually think that that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay, so here's why saying this actually matters. So if these ports underperform because of exactly these three reasons, Activision could write this off as the ports themselves being a bad idea instead of reading it correctly. And that would be that the execution needed to be better. And if they draw the wrong conclusion, that's the kind of thing that will quietly kill any chance of MW2 or MW3, whatever comes next. Not because the demand wasn't there, but because the first attempt got messy and things didn't work out so well. And let's be real, this does actually happen more often than people think in this industry. A genuinely good idea gets one messy launch and then it never comes back. So that is the exact trap I do not want this community to accidentally set for itself by going into it with zero awareness of what could actually go wrong. I would rather people go into it with realistic expectations and Treyarch nail it. Now, I want to be clear where I'm coming from, because it'd be easy for me to hear this and think I've gone cold on the ports, and I haven't. If anything, it's the opposite. I grew up on this game. I played mornings on the projector, banging out all-nighters, grinding for clips, kill feeds, cameras, all of that stuff. If you know, you know. And that announcement was the first time in years that I genuinely felt excitement again. Like, I could not sleep. It was that bad. I was sat there reading the reply section like everyone else, kind of convinced it wasn't real. So none of this is coming from someone who doesn't care. It's the opposite. I really care, and I care enough that I won't just tell you everything's perfect when I don't believe that. So that is everything. These ports could genuinely drop the second that old gen sale ends, so please keep an eye out for that. Now, we've spoken about these three sort of issues that could possibly come up, but let's be honest, none of that changes how excited I am. Genuinely, I still feel this is a huge moment for the franchise, and most of us are going to feel the exact same way, and we're going to have a great time regardless. Even if one of these predictions turns out to be wrong or they turn out to be right, I'll happily come back and say so. So, would you let me know in the comments which one of these you disagree with? I know at least one of you is going to get fired up, and I will be reading every single reply. So subscribe if you want to be here for the next one. There is a specific platform question that I want to get into as well. So it's whether these ports are actually coming to Xbox, and I don't think the answer is as obvious as everyone's assuming. Now, one more thing. Don't forget this, okay? Don't forget. Jesus is king. He is the one and only savior. So repent and believe in the gospel. See you in the next one.